Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander Catherine Humphreys. We warmly welcome the family of Private William Crossman, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private William Crossman. William Crossman was born on the 20th of March, 1896, in Cobar, New South Wales. Known as Bill, he was the eldest of 3 children, born to William and Elizabeth Crossman. He also had 2 older half-sisters from his mother's first marriage, who helped raise Bill and his siblings during their younger years. The family lived in Tarkoon throughout Bill's childhood, where he attended the local public school for his education. His mother Elizabeth died in 1904, leaving William to raise his 3 young children alone. After completing his education, Bill began working as a farmhand on his father's property, alongside completing labouring jobs around the local area. Bill enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force alongside 3 of his closest friends on the 16th of October 1915. Together, they were assigned to the 9th Reinforcements of the 18th Australian Infantry Battalion with the rank of private, and they commenced initial training in camp at Liverpool on the outskirts of Sydney. After 3 months of initial training, Private William Crossman departed Sydney in HMAT Runic on the 20th of January 1916, alongside his mates William and Josiah Collis. They arrived in Egypt in late February 1916 and travelled by train to Zaytoun for further training. While training at Zaytoun in March, Bill was briefly admitted to hospital suffering from tonsillitis, but returned to his unit having fully recovered by the end of the month. On the 20th of April, Bill was transferred to the 53rd Infantry Battalion at Tel El Kebir. The 53rd was one of the new battalions that had been raised in Egypt as part of the doubling of the AIF in early 1916. Part of the 14th Brigade of the 5th Australian Division, it was made up of Gallipoli veterans from the 1st Battalion and fresh reinforcements like Bill. After another 2 months training in Egypt, Bill left Alexandria with the rest of the 53rd Battalion on the 19th of June 1916 and arrived in France a week later. Moving north into the sector of the Western Front around Fleu Bay, the battalion entered the front line for the first time on the 10th of July. Only a few days later, the battalion became embroiled in its first major battle on the Western Front, the Battle of Fromelles on the 19th of July 1916. Soldiers from the 5th Australian Division and the British 61st Division were ordered to attack strongly fortified German frontline positions near the Aubert Ridge in French Flanders on the 19th of July. The attack was intended as a feint to stop German reserves from moving south into the Somme, where a larger Allied offensive was already underway. The feint was a disastrous failure. Allied soldiers attacked over open ground in broad daylight, in full view of the German lines. Subjected to heavy artillery and machine gun fire, over 5,500 Australians became casualties in only 24 hours. The men of the 53rd Battalion were part of that initial attack on German positions and suffered heavily. Within 24 hours, the battalion had suffered 625 casualties, over 3/4 of its attacking strength. Among the 236 men initially reported missing in action was Private William Crossman. In subsequent inquiries by the Red Cross Wounded and Missing Bureau, several eyewitnesses reported seeing Bill wounded during the advance, but all disagreed on the exact nature of his wound and the last time that he was seen alive. Finally, a court of inquiry held on the 2nd of September 1917 determined that William Crossman had been killed in action during the Battle of Fromelles on the 19th of September 1916. He was 20 years old. Like many of the almost 2,000 Australians killed during the Battle of Fromelles, William's final resting place was never recovered. He is commemorated today at VC Corner Australian Cemetery and Memorial in Fromelles, France. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private William Crossman, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
For the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.